Okay, I just got off a call with a young guy. He's seen my videos about estimating, and he says that I was talking right at him when I'm saying that people don't estimate their jobs right. And pricing jobs per square is inaccurate, and you shouldn't do that. And his price, the way he's coming out his pricing is even crazier than that. So we're talking about how to fix it. So I'm making him this video on how to build smart estimate templates in Job Nimbus, which I've made videos about, but I've never made a video on how to do it. It's gonna be a pain in the ass for a lot of people. It was a pain in the ass for me way back when I did it, but it's super important. Because now I know I charge the right amount of money on every single job. So I'm gonna make a video explaining how to do it in Job Nimbus. So you have to be a Job Nimbus user for this to be useful for you, but a lot of people are, so we're making a video for him, but then also for whoever the fuck else. Maybe we'll post it, I don't know. The first step, or the first way to understand how you should estimate jobs is by looking at this. So on this job, this is a tile roof, concrete tile roof. But you'll notice I have every single item that's gonna go out to this job listed, line item by line item. So I have my underlayment, I have a separate underlayment, I have drip edge, I have valley metal, I've got hip and ridge metal, all the nails I need, pipe boots. I have every single piece of material that's going to go out to this job listed. Even like tile loading charges, pallet surcharges I have to pay, my concrete tile, everything. Every expense I'm going to incur on this job I have listed line item by line item. Then down here I have my labor. I got my labor for my tear off with what it's going to cost me and the quantity for it. My labor for the install, same thing. My labor for dumpster, or my cost for dumpster, and my cost for permits. So this is a line item estimate. And this is what we want to teach Job Nimbus to be able to build for us. So the first step before we go to make the smart estimate templates is for you to write out line item estimates for yourself. You don't even have to do them in Job Nimbus necessarily. You just need to have the line item estimates made up so that you know all the items you're going to have to add to the products and services in Job Nimbus. So if you only offer shingle roofs, it'll be very simple. You'll only have one line item estimate to work out. If you offer multiple option, like tiered pricing, like a good, better, best, you'll have to have a good estimate, a better estimate, and a best estimate. However many roof offerings you offer, however many types of roofs you come up with prices for, you'll need a different estimate written out for that. Even if you do new construction and re-roofing, they're different. So you need a separate estimate written out for every roof offering you have. Once you have all these written out, just like is on the screen right now, for every roof offering you have, it'll be very easy to do what you're going to do next. You're going to come to your products and services, so go to settings, go to products and services, and you're going to add product and service for every single line item on all the estimates you pre-made up. So say I want to do GAF, timberline, shingles. In the description, I can put something like 3 bundles per square. And the purpose of this is this description will show up on all your estimates. So when other people start to do these in the future, they'll know that you're supposed to have 3 bundles per square, and they can kind of proof the automated math that Job Nimbus did for them and proof that their inputs were correct. Unit, bundle, item, however, that's not super important. Cost, let's say 32 bucks. Markup, I always put markup at 0 because I don't like to mark up every single line item. I like to know exactly what my total job cost is and then add my profit margin to that. Tax, make sure you add tax because you pay tax, so you should be passing that on to the homeowner. And then I would click save. I'm not going to click save because I don't want to mess it up. You just go through that for every single item in your line item estimates that you already have made up for yourself until you have every single one in Job Nimbus in the products and services list. Once you have all your items listed, that's your labor too. So you would have to add your labor. Let's just do that real quick. Let's call it metal install labor. Maybe I'll just put per square. I'll put items, whatever. And let's say I charge $100 per square. My markup's going to be 0. Price will be 100 because I'm not marking it up. I don't pay sales tax on labor, so I'm going to put none. Now, is $100 a square correct? Are any of these guys in your payroll? If they are in your payroll, then $100 a square isn't correct because you have payroll expenses that add to the $100. Is a portion of it going in the payroll? Is all of it going in the payroll? Is it a true subcontractor? If it's a true sub, then $100 is correct. If there's payroll expenses on that 100, you need to figure out what the payroll expenses are and add it to that number, because if there are and you put 100, you're not charging enough. And that's it. You have your dumpsters. Maybe dumpsters cost you different for tearing off a shingle roof than a concrete tile roof. Well, then you should have an item in there for dumpster shingle tear off, and then you should have an item in there for dumpster tile tear off. Any variations or anything in your line item estimate should have its own item. So you come into products and services, you enter all your products and services in here, and now you're ready to build a smart estimate template. Let's show you what one looks like real quick. So you can come to a customer, you can come to financials, you can click create smart estimate, and then you're going to select out of, these are all the templates. So I'm going to show you how to build these templates right now. These are all the ones I have. So these are all the roof offerings I offer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 18 different roof offerings I offer. And that's because we do tiered pricing. So I offer 3 price options for every roof type. So I have 3 price options for every roof type. So I have 18. So essentially I have 6 main roof offerings. And I've built a smart estimate template for every single one because they're all different. So I need a different template for each one. So my people can come in here, click create smart estimate, choose the roof that they're going to be estimating. So let's do Class A, aluminum, inch-and-a-half mechanical. They click next. They come in here, they enter all their stuff. I'm just going to put a few in so I don't get a completely blank estimate when we're done. I'm just obviously picking random numbers. It should be good enough. I put everything in. I've got some required ones in here, so let's put it. I click next. There's some questions I have to answer because these are important. Metal delivery fee, 0 to 60 miles or over 60 miles? 0 to 60. Tear off, what are we turning off? Shingle or tile? Shingle, because the labor is different for both. Dumpster, are we turning off shingle or tile? The cost is different for both. I said shingle. Permits, $700 permit or $1,000? Say 700. Now I can click next, go to estimate. And because I built these beautiful smart estimate templates, Job Nimbus now spits out a perfect line item estimate just based on Eagle View data, and I didn't really have to do much work, and nobody had to do any math, and I can trust my numbers. So that's what we're building, the ability to do that. So how do you build these? See how I can explain it. It's a motherfucker, I feel like. So I haven't done one in a while, so let's see. Okay, all right, you're going to click Create Smart Estimate in your settings, and the first thing you got to do is name the template. You're just going to name it whatever roof estimate you're doing, simple. And then you have to add your sections. So if you want your estimate broken out into certain sections, all you do is title the section name and give it a description, simple. Maybe you just want to have materials in one section, labor in another section, and then like permit and dumpster in another section. That's completely up to you. I wouldn't want to have the whole job just in all line items all lumped together. It makes it cleaner if they're broken out in sections. So that's it. First page, title, and give it the sections you want. Next page, you're going to tell Job Nimbus what measurements you want to be inputted. So like obviously, so off the Eagle View. Obviously you want the squares, you want the eaves, you want the rakes, you want the hips, you want the valley, all the typical Eagle View info. Obviously you're going to need all that. And why do you need the measurement? You need the measurements because the measurements are what give you the formulas to come up with the quantities for each line item on there. For example, your underlayment. If you're using 2 square rolls of underlayment, you need to know the squares to come up with how much underlayment you're going to need. Your drip edge. Well, if you're putting drip edge on the eaves and the rakes, obviously you need to know the eaves and the rakes to know how much drip edge you're going to need. And so on and so on. So this is what you're doing on the measurements page. You're deciding what measurements you want inputted into the system to come up with all your quantities. Some items are not going to be as simple as just like what are the rakes, what are the hips, what are the valleys, or what are the ridges. Some items you'll need to use both. For example, drip edge, I just said it. You need to know the eaves plus the rakes if it's a shingle roof because that's where drip edge goes. So you would have to put a measurement here that was called eaves plus rakes, so that later Job Nimbus is going to know, okay, I used the eaves and the rakes measurements to calculate the drip edge. In metal roofing, I have some goofy ones. So let's butyl tape. If you do metal roofing, you know what butyl tape is. So you can see in my description, I give the description of how we come up with this number. So that way my girls in the office can look at the eagle view, look at my description, and do the simple math. Ridges plus hips plus valley times 2 plus rakes plus step flashing plus apron flashing. And then I have in parentheses round measurement to the nearest 10. So I have a measurement name for butyl tape because this goofy formula is only going to be used for butyl tape. Same thing with my Z metal. So there's some things that aren't going to be as simple as what's the linear feet of valley. So when you're doing your line item estimates and you have this here, you'll know like, okay, I'm going to figure this one out by my rakes, this one out by my squares, this one out by my valleys, and you'll be able to know if you have any additional ones like I'm showing you that you'll need to add. I have steep squares on here because we pay extra for steep squares. So how many steep squares are on the roof? I have 2-story squares. We're in Florida. Most houses are 1-story, so these roofers are lucky. They get paid extra for 2-story. I know all states aren't like that. I have 2-layer squares. If we know the roof is 2-layered, we pay extra for 2-layer tear-off, so I have 2-layer squares. I have permits. I have in the description for them to always put 1 because I just need them to register that there is a permit. I don't need to know the measurements of the permit or the quantity of the permits. It's always 1. I have shingle or tile tear-off as a measurement name. And in the description, 1 for shingle, 4 for tile. And that's because they cost different. I'm very detailed about these because I've been doing them a long time and I'm good with them. And I don't want to confuse you and get into the weeds. But I think you got the point on this page. I hope so. If I don't, you can message me. Okay, so once I have all my measurements listed on what I want my girls in the office to input into the system off the eagle view, I click next. This page is where you build out the line item estimates and what you want them to look like. So I'm going to scroll all the way up. So earlier when we did our sections on the first page, now it's going to give me this dry-in section, and I'm going to have to add all these items, right? So I have my peel and stick. I have my nails for the plywood. I have my nails for the drip edge. I have my 2x4s. I have my plywood. I have caulk. I have an attic fan. So this is all part of my dry-in section. So because we listed all those names in the products and services, you can see I have access to all my products and services in Job Nimbus here. So I just add a single item, and I add all these items in here. Measurement right here, this is important. So this is just telling Job Nimbus what measurements from the previous page are we going to use to calculate the quantity for every individual item. So for my peel and stick, I use a squares calculation, a calculation off of squares to figure out how much peel and stick I need. For my 8D nails, my plywood nails, I use squares to calculate how many nails I'm going to need. Same thing for my my additional nails. You're not going to need that. My next section, flat roof. So this is on my flat roof material. And I have, so for my cap sheet, what measurement from the previous page am I going to use to calculate how much cap sheet I need? I'm going to use flat roof squares. So this is why we make the measurements, so that when we build the line item estimate, Job Nimbus knows what measurement to use to calculate how much of these I need. Let's look at something different. So it gets a little more detailed with the metal. So like obviously for my valley, what's the measurement that Job Nimbus is going to use to calculate how much valley I need? Obviously it's valley. For my drip edge, what measurement is Job Nimbus going to need to calculate drip edge? My eaves. I don't put drip edge on rakes on a metal roof, so that's why you don't say eaves and rakes. You can see I have a line item for butyl tape, but you can't calculate butyl tape just off an individual measurement on the eagle view, so that's why I was showing you on the previous page. I have a specific formula for the girls to go through so that Job Nimbus knows how much butyl tape to send. So my measurement was the butyl tape measurement. And so on and so on. So this is where you're just looking at the line item estimates you already created, and you're basically building them in here and selecting what measurement Job Nimbus is going to use to calculate the quantity for that line item. I think it's pretty simple. I'll show you down here. So I have you can put drop downs. So see how you have add single item? Everything up here I'm just clicking add single item for, because it's just a single item. But you can put product drop down, and I'll show you like what I have that for. So for example, in my labor section, the first item I have is my tear off labor, but I use the product drop down, which you would click right here. And this is so I can have labor shingle tear off and labor tile tear off. So this will just allow you to choose which one you want when you're creating a smart estimate. Are we tearing off shingle or are we tearing off tile? You just drop it down, select what you're tearing off, and move on. What measurements are we going to use to calculate the quantity for the tear off? We're going to use squares. Obviously, we pay by the square, so I have squares. You know, steep charge. What measurement am I going to use to calculate the quantity of steep charge? Well, we made a steep charge measurement, so obviously steep squares. I think that's it. I think it's simple. It seems simple so far. The next page makes your head spin though. But I think that's good on this one. So then once I built out my line item estimate, what I want the estimate to look like, and I chose the measurements to calculate the quantity for each line item, I hit next. All right, so this is where you're going to need to use some math. So you'll notice this page is actually, this is what's going to tell Job Nimbus how to do the math to figure out the quantities for each line item. So just as a recap before we go through this, on page 1, we titled the estimate for the roof offering we're building the template for. We added the sections, how we want our line item estimate broken up into sections. Then on the next page, we added all the measurements that we're supposed to add into Job Nimbus so that Job Nimbus can calculate all our quantities for every single product and service we offer correctly, right? And then on the next page, we built the actual estimate by section, line item by line item, with the associated measurement needed to calculate the quantity for every single line item. So now on this page, the last page, second to last page actually, we're giving Job Nimbus the math. So this section is squares. So on our estimate, every single item we selected the measurement squares for is listed in this section. So a lot of things on my job use the amount of squares on the roof to calculate how many. So you can see up here it says for every 1 square, and then basically how much underlayment do I need. So because my underlayment is 2 square rolls, I need 0.5 for every 1 square. So it's pretty simple to find that out. If I know in my head that I have a 2 square roll, how do I figure out how many I need for every 1 square? I just do 1 divided by 2. Easy, 0.5. My nails, I need 1 box of square will cover 15 square. So I do 1 divided by 15 equals 0.0667. So I have 0.07. And you just go through here and you do that for every single item. Here's my metal roof panels. So those are listed price per square. So I just have for every 1 square, I need 1. You know, some of these like caulk for my metal roof, you just have to figure out, like, you might not know this in your head yet, or maybe you do know this, but once you figure out, like, you need to come up with a per square number. How many things do I need per square? And once you have that, you just do whatever you need per square, divide it by the 1, and you get your number. So like this top section is all the line item items that are associated with the square measurement. And if I keep scrolling, it's going to make me give math for every single one. So we have an eave measurement. This is my drip edge. So we're using eaves to calculate drip edge. I know that a piece of drip edge is 10 foot long. So for every 1 foot of eave, how much drip edge do I need? Well, drip edge is 10 feet long. So for every 1 foot, I do 1 divided by 10 equals 0.1. So I need 0.1 pieces of drip edge for every 1 linear foot of eave. You get the point. Rake, same thing. I have my rake metal, they're 10 foot lengths, so I need 0.1 for every 1 foot of rake. Pretty simple. I did all these in decimals because I started with squares and I needed to because there's so many different ones. But for your ones that are really simple like this, I could have just put for every 10 feet of rake, I need, why'd it go away? For every 10 feet of rake, I need 1 rake, which would make it way simpler because I don't have decimals, but I was like, my mind was so into decimals when I was doing this, I just made it more complicated than I had to. But for something like squares where you have like all these items associated with square, I just like, it's gonna be fucked up no matter what, so who cares? But that's what you're doing on this page. You're giving Job Nimbus the math it needs to use to figure out the quantity of every single line item. So for all your measurements that you added on that second page, now it's, you got to give Job Nimbus the math. Once you go through this and you give the math for every single item so Job Nimbus can calculate it, now Job Nimbus is your computer for life, and you never have to do math on an estimate again. The other cool thing about this is if you have price increases, you don't have to change anything. All you have to do is go into your products and services list where you added all your stuff, increase the price, click save, and now all future estimates will reflect the price increase. So you don't have to change too much. You just have to update your price in the products and services list. So once you give Job Nimbus all the math to do, your last thing is your waste calculations. So you give it the waste to use. And you can change the waste every time you're building a smart estimate, so you can customize it per smart estimate, but you want to save in certain waste factors just so that you don't really have to. But you have the ability to change it on every single one if you want. So you just go through it here and you decide what you want to add waste to and how much. And that's it. You can also select what you want it to round up to. So maybe if you have, I'm trying to think, my tile foam. I buy these giant tile foam kits. So if I don't use it all on the job, I can bring it back to the shop and use it somewhere else. So I can come over here and say round up to the nearest half. So that way, if I only use half on a job and I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to use it on another job, maybe I just want to build a homeowner for half of it because it's really expensive per kit. So you have the ability to do that too. So you can add waste percentage per item, and you can decide what you want the system to round up to when it comes up with the math. Because obviously it's decimals. The math's going to come out to like 7.6. But you can't buy 7.6 boxes of nails, so you would want it to round up to the nearest one to cover 8 boxes of nails. Simple. And then you're done. That's it. So easy. I remember the first time I did these, I was like, I think I spent like 10 hours in my office by myself on a Saturday doing these. And like the first 2 hours was just trying to figure out how the fuck to do it and make sense of like what they're even asking me or what I'm doing. And then once I like figured out all the shit and how it works, it kind of flew by after that. I hope this video is good enough. I think it's gonna be, but you can send me a message if it's not. And then I just click next and I'm done. Once you build one and save it, you'll be able to come here, click this, select the one you built, and you're rocking and rolling. Input the data, do some simple math off the Eagle view, and you'll have a perfect line item estimate. So then you'll be able to go through, create the smart estimate. Job Nimbus will give you a nice clean line item estimate with a perfect job cost. So I know that this job's gonna cost me $48,564.44. And now I can mess with the profit margin and charge what I want. And I know I'm accurate. And that's it.